Bhavya Misra, who is the Director Head HR with Lenovo. To give you a background, a people leader with more than 15 years of rich experience in HR technology, FMCG, retail industry, currently HR Head for Lenovo India, Asia Pacific HR Head for the mobile business group, Motorola. Prior to Lenovo, worked with companies like PepsiCo, Bharti Retail and Aditya Birla Group. Can we welcome Bhavya with big round of applause, please?
Thank you for that lovely introduction, and I know I have a very difficult task of a session just after lunch, but I hope it is interesting, and I hope you have some takeaways from the session. So like you said, my name is Bhavya, I represent Lenovo, and very happy to talk to you about a very critical topic, which is technology and how that can enable enhanced employee experience and engagement. So can I have my presentation on the stage? Yeah, okay, thank you. Okay, so let's start with technology. Obviously that's a field that I come from. What are some of the benefits of technology that we've seen, not just in the HR space, but in general, right? The first one there, let's look at convenience. I'm sure many of us, right, earlier used to go to banks to make withdrawals, to have various changes. Now we just do it on our phone. We don't even carry cash anymore. I've completely stopped carrying cash. You're always doing Google Pay, even if it's for 10 rupees. Right, so that is convenience. And obviously technology has brought about that change in our lives. So big advantage. I mean, anything that used to take time, that used to take effort, that used to take resources can easily be made much more convenient if we know what is the problem that we are trying to solve via technology. The second one, connections. Again, I remember when I used to be in residence, so it was a hostel in my undergrad days in Delhi University. Every evening, my parents used to call on the landline phone, and there were slots for everybody, and people used to shout, "Call for you, Bhavya," and room number, etc., etc. So obviously we've forgotten those days completely, and it's not like cell phones didn't exist at all. Obviously they were there, but with a very few people. Most of us used landlines, and extremely difficult. Are we more connected now? Obviously yes, and there are so many platforms, right? Professional networks on LinkedIn, personal networks on Instagram, Facebook, and many more. Twitter, of course, we don't want to talk about now in the current climate, but yes, I mean, multitude of platforms and ways to connect with each other, again enabled by technology. The third one, collaboration. Again, collaboration, I think for a long time, at least in the corporate space, we've thought about it in a very conventional way. Before COVID struck us, right? Everybody used to talk about saying that we have to come to office for jobs which require collaboration. It is extremely essential. Even today, I think what we're saying is that we do need a hybrid. But yes, during the last 2 years, have we become much more open to the idea that you can collaborate without meeting face to face via various technology tools and technologies? Yes, we can, and I think we've become far more open to that as a concept. So does it help you collaborate? Absolutely yes. Again, as long as you know what are the right questions to ask, what kind of collaboration, what are the kind of tools you might need. You will not have the answer, but if you ask the right question, a set of people will be able to come back to you with a tool that can help you do that. And then finally, customer experience or controlling experience, right, at any end. Technology for sure helps us with that, because I'm a person, when I meet her versus I meet him versus I meet somebody else, obviously there are differences depending on, what am I feeling at that point in time, what's my past equation, or when I look at her or him or somebody else, what do I feel, right? And technology to a great extent can standardize an experience. When you walk into something, then there can be a certain uniformity that you can expect if it is technologically enabled. So obviously all of these, and I'm sure there are many others, right? I've just put down some key things which help us. And then I think we have to see what is the segue of all these advantages into engagement and experience, and how can that help us, right? If technology helps us do all of these things, how do we kind of carry it on and take it forward at the workplace and use it to our advantage to enhance employee experience? Sorry. So let's start at a very basic level, right? I think any experience or any engagement, the basic of that is that, are we listening? Do we know what is it that we need to do, even if it's engagement, right? There are so many theories on engagement, what are the parameters of engagement, how can you increase it, etc., etc. But I think of all of those, the most important part is, do we know who are the people that we are trying to serve? What do they want, which is different from anybody else? What are their characteristics? And again, I mean, over the years, there have been lots of theories around what's the best way to do it, whether it's cohorts, whether it's, looking at individuals, so mass customization versus individualization, etc., etc. But at the very fundamental of it is that, do I understand the people or the person that I'm trying to serve, and whether it is the case of customer experience or employee experience engagement, all of that is there. And I think that starts with listening. Right? All the data points that we are getting about the people, the person, are we able to firstly gather that and then secondly analyze it? So can technology help us in that? Absolutely yes. Obviously, I mean, as a person, if I meet another person, maybe there's a lot more that I capture. But there is a limitation to how many people that I'll meet, how many people I'll be able to talk to. So is there a way to standardize the listening process? Is there a way to gather data points proactively rather than, after something goes wrong? And again, a variety of tools that are available to do this today. And I think technology is at the center point of those tools. As an example, one of the tools that we use in Lenovo is Amber, which is again for proactive listening. I'm sure many of your organizations also use that. Otherwise, conventionally in the past, we used to use the annual surveys, right? Saying that after every year, we'll have a survey where you have different parameters and then we hear people. But is there a more proactive way of doing this, and can you use technology to do that? So that really, I think, from an engagement or an experience perspective is the starting point of saying, how do we listen, and do you have firstly enough tools to gather that data, and secondly, if you're getting that data, what are you doing about it, and what are your insights? And just remember that while technology can give us all the data points, can tell you that this part of the organization or this particular individual is a person you must meet or is not engaged, etc., etc. Acting on that is still our task. So it's not like you can put everything on technology and say that technology is going to solve for everything, right? Technology is going to give you and enable the process, but it's not going to complete the process for you, and it's not going to run on its own. So that also, I think, is something we must be mindful of. So from there, in terms of just gathering data points, I think if we come to the topic of engagement itself, right? And again, there are many models, many theories on what comprises engagement, what causes engagement or disengagement, right? And here I've just put some very commonly used parameters, and these are also parameters, incidentally, that at Lenovo we use. But like I said, I mean, it may not be exhaustive. I'm sure in all our organizations we have various models of measuring engagement and what constitutes it, right? So let's look at some of these parameters here, right? Customer focus and quality, diversity, equity and inclusion, teamwork and collaboration, well-being, growth and development, business process and tools, performance management. I think each of these parameters are areas of work that can very easily be enabled by technology. Like I said, by no means are we saying that technology can do everything for you in these areas, right? There is a human element, there is an interface that is required, but in each of these areas of engagement, can we look at a type of technology that helps us? As an example, let's take, say, growth and development. And we can take any of them depending on our area of interest, but let's say if we take growth and development. Again, development in any organization always, I mean, conventionally we were used to doing all of those programs which were 2-day programs. We went, we nominated people, they were extremely aspirational, people went and attended them. But increasingly we've seen that that's not what people are looking for. Attention spans have become significantly low. People are not interested in sitting and listening for 2 whole days, 3 whole days. There's so much stuff that's there online. And then even the aspirational value in today's time is in question, because people are saying that if I go online, pay a little bit of money, I'm actually getting a degree from Harvard or any of the other biggest B schools of the world. So why do I do this? What is the value add? Does it really value add to my CV? So I think increasingly, and I can see 𝗪grad mentioned here, Coursera, 𝗪grad, and many such organizations, right, are looking at how do you leverage technology to bring the best from a growth standpoint to people. And I think once upon a time we would have thought that, okay, teaching is something which is, which is very limited. If I am really good at imparting that knowledge, then I have to do it physically, because that's how we did it many years back, but that has changed dramatically. And I think now increasingly people themselves, forget about organizations, I think people are pushing for that change, saying that, can you give me a certification? I'm happy to do it in my own time, but does it have value for my CV? Can I just do it online? I don't need to spend my working time doing it, but I'm going to do it because I know it adds value to me. So it does create a certain pull value, which may not have been there in the past when we were trying to push programs. And I'm not saying that it's changed completely and we are not trying to push anymore. I think it's a balance. But having said that, there is a pull for things where people feel that there's a value add. Example certifications, example things which lead to validation from amazing universities across the world. People themselves are saying, because they wouldn't have thought, right, sitting in a Bangalore, sitting in a Gurgaon, that they would get a degree from a Harvard or a Stanford or an INSEAD, etc., etc. So growth and development, and I think that is an area that from an HR perspective, we have worked a lot on and should be really proud about in terms of leveraging technology. And we continue to do that, of course. Let's look at something else, which again in Lenovo we constantly work on, business processes and tools. This is an area I can tell you has a huge impact on engagement. So as soon as, as an employee, right, I feel like my job has so many things to do which are non-value adding for me, right? Irrespective of everything else that you may be doing at work, creating a great environment at work, doing lots of fun things, ensuring manager is great. But if in my core job, I'm not happy because I feel a large part of my job is non-value adding. There are so many things, so many times I'm giving the same data, or people are just asking me for reviews, or you're constantly making me correct things on Excel, etc., etc. I feel like, this is not the place that I want to work. I'm not engaged because I feel like, I can do so much more. You're not actually leveraging my brain power, but you're making me do all of these things which are not, in my mind, value adding. And I think which is where these business process and tools to understand what is the part of the process that doesn't actually need a human intervention. And again, remember, it's not like everything can be completely automated. But I think we also must remember that now we've already seen a large part of it, and in the future we'll see more of it. Every single thing that can be automated will be automated. I think that acceptance we should all have. And the reason for that is this, right? That if you can get a certain machine or a technology to do that work for you, why would you not? Because if that technology is doing that part of the work, actually you can do the value added part of the work. So it's not like work itself is eliminated. Yes, a type of work is eliminated, but there is more value added work which is expected from you, which is the true decision making, which is the true inciting, which is the true, putting your human element to it in the case of HR, in terms of discerning, is this right, is this wrong, do I take this decision, which way. So that's another area where I think technology, and across organizations, I'm sure we are doing that. Even within Lenovo, we pay a lot of attention to this, to saying that what parts of processes or complete processes themselves, what are the tools that are going to enable that? And one part of it, like I said, is to ease the life of employees. The other part of it that really helps is also transparency. Because once you have data or processes that exist in a certain standardized way, which are not dependent completely on people, then you're also able to give whatever access, of course, is required to people and helps a certain level of transparency. You're also sort of able to maintain the same set of information over a period of time rather than it becoming completely employee dependent, whether the person is transferring it, not transferring it. You obviously have all of that in a central pool. So it becomes a far more robust, reliable, and also a much more long-term standardized sort of way of working in an organization. And again, I'm saying it doesn't mean that the people element of it or that part is not required, but is it enhanced in terms of value add? Absolutely, yes. Let's look at something else. Well-being as an example. I think well-being is a much talked about topic all during COVID and much after that now as well. Well-being, again, I think technology has a big role to play in terms of how can we balance our life, what are the things that we can do. Again, at one point in time, we would have wanted all people to be in office between certain hours and say that these are your core hours, you must perform during these hours, I must see you in office between X time to Y time. But I think increasingly what we're seeing, and again, it might be a push from the employee side also, that I can do my work, right? You measure me on the output, don't measure me on when I'm working. As an example, I myself, right? I have a really young child. So maybe I sometimes decide that in the evening I don't want to work, I want to leave work early, but I can log in at night, and it's my choice, right? It's not like anybody is telling me to do that, but during the day I want to take a little bit of time off, but I can reconnect much later in the day and finish my work. Now, how do we enable that? And I mean, obviously it's very basic. Obviously you have a laptop, you have network, all of that, but remember that that's just the starting point. Can I still enable collaboration or tools which will help me to continue where a certain person left off? Because the earlier need of people being in office at the same time and sort of working together in those core hours also stemmed for collaboration, from saying that, okay, can I talk to each other if both of us are working on something, how do we do that? So do we have tools that can enable things like that, right, and help me in terms of managing my work-life balance, whatever the definition is? Because increasingly we've seen that the more you try to apply a uniform rule of well-being to everyone, it doesn't work. For one person, what is well-being is not well-being or work-life balance for another person. So the only way you can enable something like this, which is at such an individual level, can be through technology, that you say that, okay, all of this is available to you. Now you decide how do you want to work. What is the best possible way for you to deliver on what you need to deliver? And you come back to me and tell me that. So similarly, I mean, many of these other parameters are the same, I feel. Even customer focus and quality, let's look at that. I think again, and why it's a part of engagement at an employee level, it's a very external parameter. But I think employees constantly look at how you're treating your customers, how we are collectively treating our customers. And if that is not good, people also don't feel engaged with the organization, because they say, okay, all this vision is great, but I'm also seeing how you're treating our customers. So it's a very important element. And again, I mean, similar to employee experience, can that be enhanced? Absolutely, yes. If you look at tons and tons of customer, consumer, you know, whichever level we are operating in, all the data that exists with us, right? Can we look deeper into that? Can we analyze that? Can we have insights around that? Absolutely, yes. And there's no other way but technology to help us do that. And as a customer, whether you exist in a Gurgaon or in a Kanyakumari or you know anywhere else or maybe across the world, I can still pull out on you and say, okay, what are the details of this customer and how do we kind of make the experience for this customer better? What is she or he looking for from our organization? So again, that's what I wanted to talk about here. Moving on. So just taking a little bit of a you know, detailed view on Lenovo. So if you look at Lenovo, our global vision, right, vision for existence itself is smarter technology for all. And I think all those words there, which is smarter technology as well as for all, are very critical to us at Lenovo. And what that means is really that we want to invest in and build technologies that will enhance life, lifestyle, people's experiences across, not for one segment versus another. As an example, I'll tell you why I'm emphasizing on for all. From an HR perspective as well, right, diversity and inclusion is important. And similarly, it is important even from a customer perspective. So we have a specialized product diversity office which kind of tests all our products for usage by differently abled people. So if the same product or if this product were to be used by a differently abled person, would it still be effective, right? And that's a great way of saying that are my products actually accessible for everybody, or am I creating products which are only for the majority, and hence the for all part of the vision that we have. And just some case study kind of examples, right? At the bottom you will see social cohesion. So a tool that we use again globally, it's called CoChat. It's a social tool which basically means all company information, all kinds of approvals that you want to do, and even things like rewards and recognition, or if you want to run a contest which is global, an employee contest where people participate, vote for each other, stuff like that, right? Pretty much like an end-to-end kind of tool. So things like business approvals to things like you know, employee engagement stuff like contests, etc., can be run across the globe. So you can pretty much see who's doing what and you know what's happening. So those kind of tools, at least the one that we use here, really helps us a lot. And for your organization also, I mean, you might want to look at something like that if you're not using it. Of course, there are a variety available in the market today. Employee journeys, which is the second one I've mentioned there, is around, you know, at what part of your career or what time during the day, as an example, what information do you need? So we have an HR chatbot, right? And again, the role of an HR partner is obviously there, right? But the role of the HR partner is to truly be an HR partner to the business, right? Not be answering questions on salary, payroll, provident fund. Yes, all of that is very important. I'm not taking away from the importance of each of those things, but can somebody do that? I'm sorry. In a much more standardized way? Absolutely yes. I actually don't need to go back and look at a file and say, okay, what should it be? Why have you not got it? What is the issue? Where is it stuck? So we have a chatbot. We even have like a 24/7 kind of a chat system on Teams apart from the chatbot, right? So a person can write whatever it is that their question is, and you can immediately resolve it. As an example, and I'll tell you my own example. Like I was telling you earlier, many a times I would say log out early and then log in much later at night. And I was having a lot of trouble with my laptop. It just was not, some of the applications were not working. Obviously, at that point in time, I'm not going to call IT, right? Like IT as a person is not going to pick up my phone at like 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock because I choose to work at that time, right? But because we have this kind of a circular automated support, you can just say what is the issue, and actually I could resolve my issue within like 7 to 10 minutes. I mean, whatever was required, and it was an automated kind of support. And the same is the case for HR kind of queries that you all the time get. Will say, okay, what is happening here? Where is this list? Or why has this not been paid? Or can you give me the breakup of this? Those kind of things you don't need to answer at all. Or even what is the process? What is the policy? Etc. etc. Because all of that as a knowledge bank already exists. If you have a bot or a chat system or whatever it is that you want to design for your organization on top of that, you can easily use that and kind of enhance the experience. It's real time, it is fast, it is also taking away, like I was saying earlier, a lot of non-value added stuff which you don't really need to do, right? Then a lot of these, like I was saying, business process and tools we pay a lot of attention to. So we make a lot of in-house tools, right? To say that, okay, if this is an information point that we need, can we quickly create a tool around this and then sort of use it either at an employee end or even if it is for business information, just to get insights, to be able to get continuity on that information. I'll give you a simple example, and I'm sure many of us use these on Workday or any of the other tools. Even before we were using the interview assessment sort of sheets on Workday or any other platform, Avature or any other platform, what we started doing was we realized that all of the interview feedback pretty much rests on emails, right? Somebody will say, okay, to go ahead, somebody will give positives, negatives, and somebody is sitting and collating all of that. So very quickly we created a tool saying that everybody just enter in this, and it's very user friendly, right? It's not like a very complicated thing, you have to log in and then, you know, do 20 things, nothing. Whoever you have to interview, just put in there. So that at least for a long time, whoever, all of us, 3 of us, and in most interview processes, you'll always have 3 or 4 people, right, who'll go through the process. So you'll have all of that information in one place, and then obviously we migrated to a much more, a more unified tool which we use as of now. But that's just an example. Grow at Lenovo is the in-house sort of platform that we have for learning, again with a huge variety of courses. I'm sure all of us have that. Proactive listening I spoke about. So yeah, I mean, this is what I wanted to speak about from a Lenovo context. Just moving on, and sort of before I end and we have a little bit of discussion, I also wanted to say that as HR people or HR people interested in technology, let's say, we also have to remember that it enables problem solving. It's not going to solve the problem for you, right? If we are in a situation or if we feel that technology is going to help us, I think the most important thing is that we still have to know what is the question. So for everything that you can think of, right, pretty much everything, there is a product or a service that already exists or can be built, right? But it depends on, do you understand what's the problem you're trying to solve? It's very easy to get a technology solution or a technology answer to a question, but it doesn't take away the basics. So it's not going to replace good leadership. It's not going to replace the need for, okay, you will get all the insights, but the decision still needs to be made by you. The need to create a vision, again, you can get all the trends, you can get all the information, you can have all the listening, all that information is there for you, which absolutely technology will enable. But the good old set of things required for leadership, that's not going to go away. Setting a vision, getting your team along, giving the human touch, while for a large series of things you can have a unified experience, but for those one or two people who need a little extra or care, that cannot be taken away and done by technology. So that human element, while we should and must use technology for all things where we can, because it is definitely an enabler, but it's not going to complete the whole circle unless we bring in the human element and the leadership element to it as well. So that's it from me. With that, I close, and I'm very happy to have a discussion with any of you if you have any comments, questions, or anything that you would like to add. Yes. Do you have a mic or?
Thank you, Bhavya, for a lovely talk. Just picking up on the last thread. So if there were 3 problems that you feel that have been solved for Lenovo as an organization, what would they be in the area of engagement and enhancing experience, engagement within the organization and enhancing experience for customers?
Sure. So from a Lenovo, see, I think there's an accounting phrase, right? Businesses are going concerns. I don't think there are ever any problems which are completely solved. There are always things which you can, do better at, and things which you keep improving, right? But I think some of the things, let's say, which we do well, right? I can start from there. I think the employee listening part of it we do well, between Amber, our regular connect with people, and the way we use the insights. Like I said, I mean, we obviously get a lot of help from the technology, but the way we kind of take it back and complete the circle, I think we do that well. And technology helps us a lot with that. The second one, I think, which helps us is this whole, sorry, it was on the previous slide, is the whole part on answering employee queries and managing experiences of employees at various points, right? In terms of saying if there's anything to support them. So I think there is enough level of clarity on saying that what part of it can be solved by an automated support system that we have versus what is the true HR partnership that I need to offer, right, from a business perspective. I think that is the second part that we do well. The third one, again, I think is a part that we are increasingly learning to do better and better on, is the learning bit, right? In terms of saying that how do we use or balance better this whole, online bite-sized kind of learning phenomena, along with what really requires deeper intervention like face-to-face. So I think those would be the 3 areas which I think we're doing reasonably well.